We're about to dive into one of the oldest questions in all of philosophy, but we're going to turn it right back on you. Because by the end of this, you're going to see how you, yes you, are the living, breathing answer to a 2,000-year-old paradox. So let's just get this out of the way right now. The version of you that clicked play on this explainer, yeah, they're gone. And the person who's listening to my voice right this second has absolutely no way to prove they're the same one. Sound impossible? Well, let's break it down. To really get a handle on what's happening to you every single second of every day, we first need to talk about a legendary Greek hero and his very, very old boat. So, the setup is pretty simple. The hero, Theseus, has this famous ship. Over years and years of epic adventures, every time a wooden plank rots, the crew replaces it. Eventually, not a single original piece of wood is left. This led the Greek historian Plutarch to ask this really profound question: is it still the same ship? It's a fascinating thought experiment, right? But here's the kicker. It is not just a thought experiment. It is the literal, biological reality of your own body. I mean, you know this intuitively. Just look at old photos of yourself. Your hair is different, maybe you have a scar you didn't have before, your face has aged. We can all see these big changes over time. But the change happening under the surface, oh, it is so much more dramatic. Get this, 330 billion. That is the staggering number of cells your body replaces every single day. That's about 1% of your entire cellular makeup just swapped out in 24 hours. I mean, to put that into perspective, your stomach lining completely renews itself in just a few days, your skin in about a month, and it goes even deeper than cells. Researchers at Oak Ridge figured out that over a single year, about 98% of the atoms that make you up are swapped out for new ones. The physical matter you are made of, it's really just a temporary visitor. Okay, so not everything changes. About 10% of your cells are in it for the long haul. This includes the neurons in your cerebral cortex. You know, the part of the brain responsible for thought and memory and your personality. For the most part, they're with you for life. So this seems like a solid answer, right? If the hardware of your mind, the actual physical neurons, are a constant, maybe that's the core of your identity. Maybe that's the real you. Well, it's not quite that simple. You see, even if the hardware is stable, the software, all the information that's stored inside it, is in a constant state of flux. It's always being rewritten. This is so critical to understand. Your memory does not work like a video file. Every single time you recall something, you are actively rebuilding it from all these little fragments. And that process of rebuilding and then resaving it, it's called reconsolidation, actually changes the memory itself. Your past isn't some stable record. It's an evolving story. I just love this quote from the pioneering memory researcher Elizabeth Loftus. It perfectly captures how flexible our own past is. Your personal history isn't set in stone. It's more like a living document that gets edited a little bit every time you read it. And Loftus proved this with her famous Lost in the Mall study. She had relatives suggest to people that they'd gotten lost in a shopping mall as a kid. Now, even though it never happened, with just a little bit of prompting, a full quarter of the participants came up with these vivid, detailed, and completely false memories of the event. And it's not just your memories. Your brain's physical structure literally changes based on your experiences. That's called neuroplasticity. The classic example is London taxi drivers. Their brains physically grow in the area for spatial memory just from memorizing all those cities' streets. Your personality, your beliefs, your tastes, study after study shows they all continue to evolve your entire life. So if we are in this constant state of change, both physically and mentally, why do we feel so stable, so finished? Well, this is a fascinating psychological quirk known as the end of history illusion. A huge study of over 19,000 people found that at every single age, people could look back and clearly see how much they had changed in the last decade, but they consistently underestimated how much they would change in the next one. We all kind of feel like we've just arrived at being the real us. This uses the same logic as another ancient paradox, There's no single grain of sand you can remove that suddenly turns a heap into a non-heap. And there's no single cell replaced or memory altered that suddenly turns you into someone else. And yet, over time, the heap is gone and the person is completely different. Which brings us right back to our ship, because Plutarch wasn't finished. He added one more twist that makes this whole question of identity even more complicated. He asked, what if, as the crew replaced each original plank, they saved all the old ones? And then, at the end of the voyage, they used those old planks to build a second ship. So now you have two. One has the continuous history, but it's made of all new material. The other has all the original material, but it was just assembled. So which one is it? The one that holds the pattern, the function, the story? Or the one that holds the original physical stuff? When you apply this to yourself, you really see the problem. You are the continuous pattern, but you're made of all new stuff. The old stuff is scattered all over the planet. Identity can't just be about the matter, can it? So if identity isn't our physical matter, and it isn't our ever-changing pattern of thoughts and memories, what is left? Maybe we're asking the wrong question entirely. Thinkers all across history and science have pointed to this. The Buddhist concept of anatta, for example, says there is no permanent, unchanging self. There's only a continuous process. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said you can't step in the same river twice because both you and the river have changed. And modern neuroscience suggests the self is just a useful model your brain creates to help you navigate the world. And this really brings us to the core takeaway. The paradox of the ship and the paradox of you, it has no solution because it's built on a false premise. It assumes there's this single static thing called you that can be pinned down. But identity isn't an object, it's a process. It's a constant flow. In the end, we could sit here and debate for another 2,000 years about which ship is the real one. But the ship itself, it's completely indifferent to our philosophical labels. It just has a journey to continue. And so do you.